you had Palestinian protesters on Wellington Street in front of Parliament Hill, making their voices known, ceasefire, free Palestine. And it didn't stop there. They had some things to say and sent some things to share. And we're going to hear that
Did
right
they share it
now.
on Twitter?
Oh, yeah. So they shared it on Twitter.
Hell yeah, they did. Yeah.
From the river to the sea. From the river to the sea. When I say from the river to the sea, you reply with Palestine is almost free, because our resistance attacks are proof that we are almost free. October 7th is proof that we are almost free. Long live October 7th. Long live the resistance. Long live the...
So October 7th, when the attacks on Israel, where they literally drug people into the Gaza Strip, that was when they murdered people in their homes, they raped people. It was horrific. It was just absolutely awful. And then for them to be cheering in support of that kind of violence, wild, absolutely wild. I do have to bring it a little bit lighter, though, because the first tweet there says, but Justin said something in a tweet, though, so that counts.
I saw that, dude.
Hey, well, I'll be honest. We are definitely the ones who are guilty of that, by me, because I'm the one who tweeted it out. But I did talk about it where I said
Chad Michael Murray.
this was that's we'll get him later. But Justin Trudeau did tweet out about this specific situation. He says there's a difference between peaceful protests and hateful intimidation. It is unconscionable to glorify the anti-Semitic violence and murder perpetrated by Hamas on October 7th. This rhetoric has no place in Canada. None. We quote tweeted that, saying, "We'll give credit where it is due. People can debate his motive or lack of action with the issue in general. But it is encouraging to see a solid, decisive message condemning the rhetoric of these protests from the PM. And I know, and I hear it. Josh, you are just wanting the bare minimum of your PM. I'm like, you're right, but we haven't even got that. So I'm like,
in fact, I want him to freeze their bank accounts. And
I was thinking.
in fact, that's what I would like to see happen, actually.
Yes, send the police, send the military, throw out the...
If that's how he feels, that it's so violent, and if that's what he's saying,
he can practice his new hate act on that group there.
yeah.
yep, there's
Hate
a
speech, there it is.
Here we go.
Look, I understand the point of a protest. I get it. But what do they want Canada to do? Like, what are they like protesting in Canada? What do they want Canada to do?
So a lot of it at this point is they want Canada to put pressure on Israel to end the conflict, essentially.
Right.
And end the massacre, quote unquote.
Got it.
And that's really why they keep protesting in various parts.
So it's like
in the
disrupt
West.
Canadian life. Hopefully, Canadian officials will.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
That's the
whole
the
point.
goal.
Yeah,
That's supposed to be the goal.
Yeah.
It's obviously devolving into something a lot worse than that. And when you start cheering on terrorism in the streets, like this is the stuff like I think about. I watched this, dude, and I think back to the 2016 election in the States. And Trump got up there and said, I remember on 9/11, people got in the streets in New Jersey and cheered that the towers came down. And he said that, and then it went from, at least from my understanding, it was claims that were didn't happen. But that was like kind of a huge point of that 2016 election. It was like, oh man, he was right. Like people cheered, but there was no real proof behind it.
Right.
What he said happened on 9/11 in New Jersey is actually happening in front of our sight now.
Right.
People are in the streets cheering on terrorism that is going on and the rape and the murder of a specific people. And I hear, obviously you're joking about it in jest, a lot of conversation is boiling up, especially in Jewish communities, like, well, we have hate laws in this country. How about we start using them? Shouldn't people be in jail for hate speech on this?
Yeah, because
Right.
they're supporting a known terrorist
Well,
group.
so
That's
you
the
just
thing.
answered my question. Are they considered a
Yes.
terrorist
Yeah.
organization under Canadian law?
Yeah.
Yes, Hamas is a known terrorist group. And that's the thing, is that they're actually supporting the actions of Hamas. They're not actually even really like supporting the Palestinian citizens. They're talking about Hamas specifically and their attacks and any form of resistance. And it's like,
Understood.
this is so far beyond like what was originally the rhetoric. This isn't watermelon people. This is bad.
And so, as I said, a lot of people are coming out and saying hate speech laws. And this is where it all comes down for me. Now it's me talking personally. This is why I had an issue with hate speech laws coming in the first place. Because now it's starting to become a precedent. That people use it. You know, jail people that are upsetting you, that are frustrated, that are obviously saying horrendous things.
Yeah.
Jail them. I'm not a believer in that until there's actual incitement of violence.
Yeah. Hurt feelings is not the same as being hurt.
And so I'm not even trying to like compare those two, because like obviously what was said here was not right. I just don't know if it falls into incitement of violence. But I'm not a lawyer, so I can't really speak specifically to that. But what I will say is, again, the joke was we've normalized the invocation of the Emergencies Act. The amount of people saying we need to have the EA to clean this up.
Yeah.
I hate that's where we're at now. I'm like, here we are. This is what Trudeau wanted.
Yeah.
Make this normal. Trample on people's rights in this country, on people that upset you. Right. Get rid of them. That's now normal. And I hate it. And I hate this, but I also hate that our rights are just absolutely getting torched in this country as it stands.
But the problem is that everybody's looking at this going about fairness, right? It's the idea that like, why is something so blatantly, like absolutely in support of a terrorist group being allowed to wander the streets in Ottawa, and yet you had an actual group of people who were Canadian citizens fighting a Canadian law, and they get the book thrown at them, right? Mm-hmm. They get labeled Nazis and the worst things in the book, right?
I know.
So I totally understand where people are at with that. I agree with you that I don't think the Emergency Measures Act should be used against these people, because I think we've already known this is a blatant misuse of that policy, and the Supreme Court Justice found that as well. But the problem is that we've used that as kind of the metric for dealing with these kind of these situations. So then when you use it against one group and then don't follow up with it against another, it's this clear imbalance of justice, and people are mad. And so I get why they're mad, but I totally agree with you in the sense that like, yeah, I don't like this slippery slope of like hate speech this and, banning that and thought police. That's not what I'm here for. But at the same time, I totally see the other side of people being like, this is ineffective. This is not actually what we stand for. And it's an embarrassment to Canada.
That's where I get it. And the argument the left is using on this, because I've been watching Twitter today. It's been a lot of entertainment, if I'm being honest. The left saying, like people on the right saying, hey, invoke the Emergencies Act, clean this up. The left saying, well, the protesters showed up over the weekend, but they left.
Yeah.
They didn't occupy, quote unquote, any space in front of Parliament Hill, so they didn't need to have the Emergencies Act called on them. That's where the argument is coming in from the left, which, if I'm being honest, is a fairly decent one.
Yeah, well, that was kind of one of the conversations I had when we were in Ottawa. I got to talk to an individual who was a citizen of Ottawa who was downtown for the protests. And he said one of the big things that he found was that it was the duration. It was the 24-hour noise that was happening. He said that if, they wouldn't have been honking all night long, disrupting people's sleep, that they probably would have been able to sustain their protests. And the other thing is that there was a little bit of his bias was that because the Liberals saw how much money that this organization was collecting in support of the truckers against the Liberals, they got scared and they had to shut it down. Whereas this, like you said, quick, over and done with, not something that they need to be worried about. It's not impacting their voter base right now. So I can see why they reacted differently. But the problem is that these keep happening. And so what happens when you say, the duration is such, you have so many weeks of this happening continuously, but it's been months of these kind of protests happening all across Canada in places where like you just wouldn't want them. Like this, at least it's in front of Parliament Hill. Before it was at Mount Sinai Hospital. It was at the rink in Toronto when they were trying to host like a winter festival for citizens and for the community. So where is the line with this? And where is our action from government to say, listen, we've done all we can do. They aren't even listening to the states right now. So sorry, that's where we're at.
Yeah. Well, this is where it's not even about that anymore. I look at this. If we're gonna apply 1-to-1 Canadian convoy to this. Let's talk about, the imaginary flags that were flying during the convoy, the mysterious Nazi flags that no one saw, but Trudeau's photographer happened to capture at the right moment. Talk about that, and talk about 1, 2, 3, 4 communist flags flying in this group right now.
Yeah.
Shut the heck up. I don't want to hear it. An ideology that has killed, believe it or not, I know the left is going to hate this, has killed more people than any Nazi has ever in history, is flying in this group right now. I don't want to hear it. I'm done. It's stupid. Your motives are plain and clear. You said it. First off, you're happy that a bunch of people dying on October 7th was the right thing to do. And now you're supporting communism. That's killed millions and millions of people in history. Okay, so screw off. And I'm done. I guess you're catching me because this group and the people on the extremists of this group who are supporting Hamas caught me at a weak point in this whole situation. They abused my goodwill. And now I'm ticked off of what I'm seeing. And now I'm coming for them hard because I don't want to see it. I want it off my streets. I'm not going to invoke the Emergencies Act because I'm not a pansy, but I will expose them. And then when they start doing bad things, they got to be outed. Gone. That was electric, wasn't it? Well, we enjoyed it. Hope you did too. If you did, you can check this video out here to the top right corner right near my window. Get over. There it is right there. And if you liked that, you can also check this one right here. We love you. Have a good one. Peace out.